Hi, I'm Connor Trinneer, and this is the Shuttlepod Show.
So when did you do the drag act?
Well, that's coming.
Oh, that's tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. I've got a
All
show.
this college stuff. When did RuPaul go, you, my dear?
Come walk with me.
Gonna go and do my convention thing. Got my costume, I'm going now. Yeah, we're having a ball. It's Star Trek, y'all. Hey, down the order. Beam me up.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Shuttlepod Show. Today we have very special guest, our very own Connor Trinneer. Today we'll be answering your fan questions, doing some trivia, finding ourselves on Dominic's remote island, right?
Oh, God.
And much more. As always,
It's not as remote.
our Patreon members get a full extended version of this episode. I'm Erica LaRose, and now for our host, Dominic Keating, and our guest host, Mark Cartier.
Oh, wow.
Well, cello.
So I'm a little nervous.
Inappropriate question number one.
Hang on a sec.
No.
Got to finish cleaning my face pistols here.
Oh, nice.
Well, it is our great honour, due to cancellation. We kid.
That's not true.
That's not true. We've been planning this for a long time. It's going to be a lot of fun. My dear friend of 20 plus years, my complete acting coach, my best buddy on set. To hardly know him is to know him really well. And trust me, you hardly know him at all.
Well put.
But we're gonna get to know him a little better today. Connor, God bless you, man.
I love you, man.
Yeah. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. Yes. I'm a babe in the woods at 54 as of the
Slip over
19th.
that.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
Yeah, it was Sunday, right? Wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Did you have a nice day?
I did. My parents came into town.
Yeah.
And we did a little brunch. I got the most extraordinary gift. I wish I'd brought it. But my brother has...
But you weren't going to share.
No. It's a lot of candy. My brother has purchased one of those big, like studio-size printers. And he gave me... it's he and I must be 5 and he's 7. And we're on the beach. We both got beach hats on. I don't think I've got all my teeth, and we're just like a couple of ragamuffins, ready to create havoc. And
Is this up in
That's
Walla
awesome.
Walla, around that area?
where we were, no, we would do a lot of camping on the coast.
Right.
We did a lot of camping. My whole life growing up was, I was at the time before around then my mom began teaching, but at the time my dad was the only. He was the only one working, and he was a teacher. And as we all know, the teachers make no money. So, one, camping was a big thing for us. 2, camping was probably really affordable. And we did that. God, it's all I remember doing.
And you've done that with your son now quite a bit, haven't you?
We've done
when
some
you go camping.
Yeah. Now that he's gotten older and wants to
Hang out with dad a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've done we've done a couple. We'll do much more. Sort of exploring what a great place we live in.
Yeah.
California, Southern California, the places you can go, and within a 5-hour drive, you're in a whole different world.
And you can surf in the morning and ski in the afternoon here.
Yeah.
I have done that.
Yeah.
Have you?
I have.
Really?
Oh,
I've
for
done
fun.
Big Bear
Bucket list.
and gone down. I haven't done the 3 to do is to play 9 holes at Roosevelt Golf Course
Okay.
at dawn.
Yeah.
Drive to Big Bear and get on the slopes, and then go down to the surf and get in the water
sunset?
for sunset. I've not done those 3, but I've done 2 of them. Yeah.
It's the SoCal.
That's all we got time for.
It's the SoCal. It's the SoCal triathlon.
I have to go.
Yeah.
I got my wetsuit right here.
So
I had a question about your camping, because I grew up a Boy Scout, and like camping for me was going into the woods with gear and not coming out for like a week. When you were camping, were you out of the back of a truck? Were you in going into the woods and staying there for 4 days at a time?
We would camp for a long time. We would camp for a week at a time, and then when I was 9, we bought this Volkswagen bus, the Westphalia, the pop
You had a
top.
Learned bus?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how I learned how to drive.
Really?
You learned how to drive one?
Yeah. I could drive anything then.
That's fun.
What color was it?
Pea green.
Nice.
Pea green.
Oh, the perfect color.
And then once we had that, of course, that was the lap of luxury. But prior to that, it was, it was a old
There
school.
are 3 kids and mum and dad in that bus. They're not big buses, and
Oh no,
and you're not small people.
we packed that in
Yeah.
like sardines. My brother and I would be in the pop top. My parents were in the back seat that folded out to a bed, and my sister, poor thing, there was a setup with the Volkswagen Westphalia was that there was a hammock you could set across the front seats, and so she'd sleep in that. But there was
so
a fridge, there was a stove, there was
That's rad.
Yeah, it was amazing. But
She's the
prior to
youngest
that,
one, right?
yes, Megan.
Yeah.
But
Megan.
prior to that, we were in one of those old school Coleman tents where if it rained, you couldn't touch the side because if you touch the side, it would make a hole. So you're terrified of, if it was raining. And being in Washington, it was always raining. And I remember just sort of like, don't touch the side of the tent because all the water will come in.
Did they tell you some horror story, or did they actually tell you that it was water? They're like,
No, they said that. I mean, that was a real thing. Like, the fabric that they used back then, I don't know what it was, but,
the oils from your hand, right?
It must have been that if you touched it, that it would create a hole and then you were to blame for everybody's misery.
Miserable. What was that, Wash?
Right.
You said you used to go camping too, but no tent?
But you got an odd rash?
That's not.
Wash has got a nasty rash.
I'm sorry. He got his rash at Dominic's house.
No.
Or was it pre-Dominic's house? Did you nurse him back to
at
health?
my house? I have to say.
It
And
was
he had
post
friends.
house. Yeah.
I think he's lonely. Where's his uniform?
Oh, where is his uniform?
Chris has it.
Chris.
Why is Wash bare?
Oh, because it's been raining, and Wash has been out enjoying the rain. Yeah. Do you need help? Here.
I tell you, we have
And it's
had
raining again.
some Kelso weather here lately.
We sure have.
It's never stopped raining.
So you picked that up.
I got photos of the flooded
I'll dress
streets
Wash.
this morning.
Oh, bless him.
Nobody look.
Where to look?
While we're dressing Wash, I just want to thank the lovely Bernadette Lyons. Thank you for sending me this lovely book.
Yeah.
Bernadette, The Last Loyalty. Very sweet of you. And also, lovely Jean sent me 3 lovely books, all of which I know, and I particularly want to read The Museum of Extraordinary Things. So, and The Night Circus here too. So thank you, Jean, very much, my dear. Where were we? Oh yes, Connor Trinneer.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
Camping.
So you grew up in Walla Walla,
Well, I was born there.
born there,
Yeah.
but mostly then grew up in Kelso.
Yes, my father was a counselor at the state penitentiary in Walla Walla. My dad was a counselor at the state pen in Walla Walla, and I was born there. My sister was born there, and I remember that my brother and I got our hair cut at the penitentiary from a guy I think who was, well, Dad, you might be able to.
Was it just clippers?
But he was doing their life for murder. But he was the barber, and we got our hair cut and
No shave.
no straight razor, safety razor. There's a story that there was somewhat of a riot or something. One of the people that he worked with as a patient had gotten up into the watchtower, and my dad, being my dad, was like, I'm going to go talk to him. And he got as high as he could. And to get to the watchtower, he needed this guy's help to get up there. And I guess this guy was not in very good shape, obviously, having gotten himself up there. And I don't know if he had a weapon or not, but he grabbed my dad's hand and pulled him up into the thing, and they talked it through, and I think he sort of talked him out of it. But around that time, I think my mom said, "You're not doing this anymore, Michael." And we moved to the Tri-Cities, Richland, Pasco, and Kennewick, and that was between 5 and 8. And that was, you could not have had a more all-American childhood than that. We were a Quaker family living in a Mormon neighborhood. Behind us there were 12 kids. To the left of us there were 9. The oldest was 9.
Wow.
All down probably like 3 or 4 block radius was just an army of kids, and we all had bikes, and we
You could be out all hours. couldn't
Yeah.
you?
you'd
Isn't that
eat
great?
Come
breakfast
home
and be
when the
like,
sun is down.
"See you, Mom," and then
Yeah.
you'd come back at the
Yeah.
end of the day,
Yeah.
and
I pity children today that not having that
Oh my
experience.
God! I grew up like that in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Dad would go to work before the sun would come up, and then come home late from work, and it would be me and my sister at 5, 6, 7, 8.
yeah, and at least in this neighborhood, every home was open.
Yeah.
If you neneeded water or a cup of Kool-Aid,
Or if you wanted a box of raisins, go to the neighbor's house.
exactly.
Yeah.
There was an open door policy, and it was great. And then we took the
But no likes. So
Yeah.
no
I
cordless
didn't have any
phones.
followers.
So there's that.
There's that, and I got myself into all kinds of trouble that you should do when you're a kid, and my mother never knew about it. I've given her sort of time released information as the years have gone by, and she's always like, I really don't need to hear this at all.
Were you ever arrested?
I was not arrested, but I ran.
You were too fat.
As a kid?
Oh yeah.
You were pretty sporty, weren't you?
Yeah, I really, when we moved to Kelso, which was, so we'd taken this when I was like 8.5. My parents decided to take a sabbatical from their work, and we were going to go to Europe for a year. And this is like 1979.
Oh,
And-
the year I was born. There you go.
And
I'm leaving.
realized
I wasn't alive.
You weren't
Great.
even alive, were you? Yeah.
You're the only
I'm
one
not
without
talking about
birthdays
this
here.
anymore then. They wanted to go to Europe for a year, but it turned out that economically,
How
this is-
how were they thinking of financing that? Were they?
well, that was the thing. They sold the house to the neighbor for cash.
Sure.
He walked in and handed them, I don't know, in '79 it was like maybe $27,000 or something.
Fortune.
Yeah, and they bought this pea green Volkswagen bus with a pop top, and decided that because it was going to be probably 3 months if we made this trip to Europe, that we would do the United States. So we spent nearly a year, probably 10 months, just canvassing the whole country
Amazing.
Oh, wow.
in a Volkswagen bus.
Wow.
Were they because they were homeschooling you, as it were, in the bus?
Well,
so to
yeah,
speak.
well, yes, they were.
Yeah.
They got permission, I guess, from the state or something. But
But it's a big country.
it's a big country, and we got to Yellowstone, and this is my memory of this. So we would have, dutifully school at the picnic table in the campsite, and for the first few weeks,
Show of books.
yeah, we were like, oh my god. And then my memory is that in Yellowstone, we just took those books and went for a walk and
And left them
them
somewhere.
So no more school, but I will say that I've never learned more in a year than I did that year. And then
In my time, I've known some families that have done that, and I think it's absolutely right. There's nothing like that education.
I agree.
It really
I mean,
is.
we went to where the Nez Perce had their final stand, and we went to DC, and you really saw the halls and the monuments, and just also getting to know the people in your country.
Yeah.
Well, and each other.
And frankly, each other. And to have that relationship with your parents, to be sharing these experiences, because it's shared experience.
Yeah.
And it sticks. Mm-hmm.
There's no TV.
No.
I mean, I remember I was actually talking to them this weekend about this, that we had not a lot, but several 10, 12-hour drives to get somewhere. And the kinds of entertainment that we did was we each got one piece of bubblicious bubble gum, and who could last the longest with that one piece. 11 hours, and you're like, but that kind of fun.
Bazooka
But-
Joe, baby.
Exactly. But one of the goals of this trip was to find a new place to live. And it was pretty clear that it wasn't going to be on the East Coast. Boise, Idaho was a possibility. I don't remember another one until we made our full circle back to California, and our last stop before we had to make the run because we were out of money
Right.
was in Carpinteria, California. And I was like,
That's not a bad spot.
well, I was like,
Yeah.
right? Are we
Yeah.
good here?
Yeah.
Let's stay here.
Yeah.
And really what it came down to is that my mother didn't want to be away from her parents. And my parents had both grown up in Kelso.
Right.
And so after this amazing trip, we went back to Kelso.
Oh, yeah. Had
Yeah.
to search the world.
So
To
then
go
what-
to go
To
to
find
go
home.
to go right back home.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, not a bad thing. And the readjustment period must have been, did people welcome you back with open arms? And it was,
Well, that's where the sports sort of story
Yeah,
comes in.
right.
Yeah, they did. I mean, we're talking about going home and people my parents went to high school with, and people that were friends of both my parents' sets of parents. And we went into this grocery store that my dad had worked in high school. And, I played soccer and I just never stopped moving. And we go to this grocery store my dad worked at in high school, and the same people were working there. And we're in line, and my dad's like, I want you to meet Connor. He's my son. And the guy kind of stops because my dad was a very good athlete in Kelso. And he stops and he looks at my dad and he goes, is he any good? And my dad was like,
it's in a mixed state.
he is good. So then that's when I sort of embark on, every sport I could possibly play. He wouldn't let me wrestle and he wouldn't let me box.
What was the wrestling thing?
Nor play football until I was 14.
Right.
It was a growth thing. It was just, not getting yourself into those kinds of sports that really muck with you physically
Right.
until you're done growing.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
and then, I played soccer until I was 14. And at that point, look, in Kelso, Washington, if you didn't play football, what's the point?
Right.
And I remember saying to my dad, he didn't want me to play. And at this point, I had this really moment of clarity. And I was like, well, whose body is this anyway?
Oh, no, Connor.
Seriously. And he was like, okay. All right. 3 games into my first season of football, I break my shoulder.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did you?
Because the equipment was too small and it was bad. But,
Yikes.
my dad being my dad, he let him have it about that. And from that point forward, I always had very good equipment.
All right.
Wait, why didn't he want you to play?
He didn't want me to play until I was done growing, when I think he was
Oh,
right.
I see. Okay.
There are certain sports, baseball,
Basketball,
soccer,
maybe, yeah.
basketball. You
Yeah.
need to play those games early and young and carry that on. I don't believe that about football.
not to
I
say
don't
that
believe that
they-
about football. You can come into football and just be an athlete and fit right in if you're good.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, we see that all the time.
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
you were particularly good, weren't you? I mean, you went on to play ball at college, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed
You were
playing
quarterback?
football. I was in
You're
high school,
cornerback,
I was a free safety on defense and a wide receiver. I was the all-state free safety my senior year in high school, as well as an all-conference wide receiver. I went to college.
Wait, you played both sides
Yeah.
in your senior year or the whole time?
Well, the whole time.
Wow.
That's what you did.
Wow.
Back then.
Right.
In college, I played cornerback on defense, and that's literally I was you want to talk about terrible student? I was my dad and I were joking this weekend. He was like, I've got a master's degree. I graduated from high school with a 2.6, and I was like, I got you beat. I had a 2.5. But I mean, football helped me get in to school, and then I realized.
So when I was gonna. So I mean, you've shown no aptitude, no interest about wearing a pair of tights.
Oh no, none at all.
When did how did that story start to sort of formulate that you thought you might get into acting?
So my experience until this thing that happened with theater was I had seen a community theater production of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum as a kid. And then I took a date to like a touring production of Cats.
Ooh,
Nice.
And both times I was like,
nice.
I like
I
that.
was going to say,
what am I doing here?
the Forum one, maybe. but,
That's a funny play. Yeah.
Right.
but, you know,
And
sorry, Sir Andrew, but Cats, really, mate. I don't know how you did it.
so I and also a senior English class read through of Our Town, which was sort of a round table. You all took different parts. And then I get to college. I'm playing football for a couple of years. It's going well, but I'm not happy. And if you're not happy doing a sport like that, that means you're going to get hurt soon. And
Well, okay. And
Yeah,
what
why not?
What not happy? What was?
I don't know. I was tired of the commitment. I was clearly not going to go professional playing
Did
like a
you know
Division
that?
III.
I mean, did you get that sense early on? Do you at 17,
You don't get that
18?
in high school. In high school, you have this dream, and when you get some sort of accolades, you're like, I think, look, okay, I'm 6 feet tall.
Yeah,
They're 6 feet tall.
yeah.
And then I get to college, and I realize, that's not going to happen. And the amount of work that was required was really unsatisfying. So I begin to. That's the great thing about university is that
As you look around.
You look around. You have an opportunity to see what's out there in the world. And I find myself at a party just before Thanksgiving weekend, and I'm talking to this woman, and I don't know why she said this to me, but I was expressing how I wasn't particularly happy. I was getting really crap grades still in college.
At least you're.
I got a 2.0 at that point. I just didn't care. And for some reason, she says to me, well, you should audition for a play. Have you thought about, doing theater and stuff? And I was like, why? No. Why would you say that? And she just said, I don't know. In talking to you, I think that you'd be good at it. And I said,
Because you're. Go ahead, sorry.
I know what you're going to say.
because I'm what? Because you're dashing and
Handsome, sure. Yes. I was going to say, because you're filling her with shit at a party.
It was a
basically, yeah.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
I thought you were going to say because he's super handsome.
Well, thank you, my dear. Anyway, so she says, I think you should do that. And I thought, okay, my mother in particular had been like high school drama, and my grandmother had done community theater. And so I take this play home with me, and I work on it with my mom all weekend long. And by the way, in this conversation, I said, oh, okay, are you going to be there?
To the girl.
To the girl. And
You
she's
should
like,
be an actor. You should be in our play.
yeah, because I had no idea who was in the theater department and at PLU. And she was like, yeah, I'll be there. So I go to the audition, literally having no idea what I'm doing. And I'm terrified. And I don't know why I decided this, but I said, okay, just listen. Just listen and respond and answer. And the whole world kind of opened up. And I lost my sense of fear about it, which is so huge for any actor. If you cannot be afraid of something and go in with just the idea that you're going to listen and respond. I mean, I knew something at that moment. It was just pure instinct out of, frankly, truly fear that after that first night of auditions, I walked out.
Do you remember what the play was, by the way?
Yeah, it was it was 2 one-acts. Lone Star and Laundry and Bourbon. Lone Star has the guys, and then Laundry and Bourbon has the girls. And it was a student-run production. But I walked out that first night, and it sounds cheesy, but sort of looked up into the heavens, truly was like, oh, thank God.
Revelation.
I finally found something. I finally found what I want to do. And
I mean, what was
The
the reaction?
audition?
Who was it?
just the audition.
Who was in the auditorium that afternoon watching you?
No one. This
No
was
one?
this was just contemporary students.
Right.
And I mean, there weren't even.
Did you get a reaction from someone?
Yeah, they were like, "What's he doing here?"
Because you were
on the
Because I was a
football
football
team.
player, and they
What's
were
with
like,
the
they were
handsome
like, What's
guy?"
he doing here?
right.
And
Oh, it was the guys who were saying that.
Probably.
Yeah.
So I get out.
Did you get a sense of being on that stage or doing the part in front of these people, albeit a smattering? Did you get a sense that that something that you had their attention?
Yeah, I had.
'Cause that's really.
I had their silence.
Yes, there you go.
That's what I had.
That's
And I had their silence. And when you have the silence of an audience, there's this interesting kind of wave you get to ride.
yeah.
That you also can sort of,
Yeah,
you can control the
manipulate.
board. You can
Yeah.
manipulate it.
Yeah.
And as long as you have them,
Yeah.
there's
And as long as you do it in an honest way,
yeah,
you know,
there's no better feeling.
there's no better feeling. As long as you're not playing them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you're being honest. And that's
Honest.
all I had for
Yeah.
myself. And this was a great play. It was a very contemporary play.
It's so
that
freeing.
You didn't have, you weren't, I wasn't burdened by style.
No.
I could just be me
Yeah.
at that point. I wasn't doing Shakespeare. I wasn't doing Moliere. I wasn't doing any of those things. And funny thing was that girl I never saw again.
No shit.
Never saw again. In fact,
Like a sort of-
I asked about
Like a
her
guardian angel girl.
like an angel. In fact, I would try to describe her to people later, and they were like, "I don't know who you're talking
Nobody
about."
like that exists.
This is a true story.
Do you remember her name?
No,
What were you doing at that party?
I was just hanging out,
Yeah.
drinking beer out of a
Making a
keg.
Were you on some kind of hallucinogenics?
Was she a real girl?
So no one ever, you never saw her again.
Never saw her
no
again.
one ever really knew who she was.
Holy
no,
shit.
no, and then
And no one at the drama department went, "Oh yeah, no, that's
yeah, that's
so-and-so.
that's Clea.
never,
No, nothing. And then so I didn't get the part, but I'd committed to already quitting football. I was done,
All right.
and
Oh, because of the audition?
because of that experience,
Because you had an experience? Yeah, yeah.
And I remember not getting the part, and I don't know if I was hanging around the theater. I don't think I was. Anyway, I'm at the cafeteria, and Jeff Clapp, God bless Jeff Clapp, he was the main dude in the theater department then, and
A professor or the
a student. And he waves me over. I mean, at this time, I'm like built like a brick shit house. I mean, I'm yoked and got long hair, kind of like I have now.
So like me now.
Yeah, like you right now. And Jeff,
Come on now.
Jeff calls me over to his.
Need you.
Jeff called me over to the table, and he's like, "You need to keep doing this." And I was like, "Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'll think about it." And then he's like, "Well, if you don't, I'm gonna kick your ass." And I looked at him, and I was like, "Oh, really?" I'll think about it. But he wound up being just such a. I admired him so much and the way that he acted, and he was the one to me that really was telling the truth. And so I jumped in.
You mean the way he behaved or the way he performed?
The way he performed, there was an ease about what he did. And so I jumped in and told them that I was quitting football, and that was an interesting conversation. It had gotten around. I was supposed to start the next year, apparently, and I was just done.
Right.
And I told the head coach, Frosty, and God bless him, all he said to me was, "Do you really believe in this? This is what you want to do, and commit your time to it." And I said, "It is." And he said, "Well, you've got my blessing then."
Right.
And my coaches
What a great guy, yeah.
went to every single play I ever did.
No
the
kidding.
entire time I was there,
Wow.
Including Kinky Boots.
including Kinky Boots with the chaps and the, They didn't love that one. But they,
A lot of squirming in the fourth row.
Step ball change.
it was a different time. It was a different time.
So how old are you at this stage? About 17?
Yeah.
18?
No, I'm 19 years old.
You're 19,
I'm 19
right?
So
years
you
old.
finished your sophomore season,
I finished my sophomore season.
quit
For
theater,
theater.
for an imaginary girl.
Exactly. And then I
Were you
get-
living on campus?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get
'Cause you
very,
said
very
you went
lucky.
home
Just to work on that for the
with
holiday.
your mom. Okay.
I get very lucky in that William Beckvar, who had co-founded the Tacoma Actors Guild, which is a great LORT theater in Tacoma, Washington, which is near my college, ran our theater program, and he also believed in me. And he just, the first thing I played was Krogstad in a Doll's House. Then I had literally had that experience, and then our school had a line with the National Theater Institute, which is at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center, and I said, I want to go there. Because at this point, I'm on overdrive. I'm doing this. I want to test myself against the best I can find. So they had a connection to the National Theater Institute, and he said, really? You think you're ready? And I said, yeah, I do. And so I went there that fall in an effort to sort of match myself up against the best and brightest of my age group. And I got there and I was like, y'all ain't so good.
Oh, Connor.
Honestly, I was like, I'm just fine, and I got cast very well, and you'll appreciate this. At the very end of the semester, Richard Digby Day, who ran the place, this big, lovely, pasty British man, calls me into the office and he said,
Great name.
Richard Digby Day.
Dickie Digby Day.
Oh boy.
And
Christopher Guest couldn't come up with a better name than that. Dickie Digby Day. You darling.
Kinda. Yeah. And he says to me something interesting. He says, Connor, I think you're good. But you have a problem. And I said, well, gosh, what's that? And he said,
I'm too tall.
No, he said, I know you work hard, but people don't see it. And in the future, for your own place in a company, people need to see you work hard.
Didn't I just say this to him just the other day?
You're like, I break all the props. I forget all the lines.
Yeah.
And
that's not hardworking. What is?
I took some of that to heart, but part of me was like, I don't care. And I go back and go,
what does he mean by that?
What he meant by that was that, sort of in rehearsal, I'm really good at playing, like just playing around and finding what'll work. There's a, how do I say this? There's a whole sort of like actory thing when you're younger about like, I'm a goddamn actor and I'm gonna.
Here's my scarf.
This is how hard I'm working.
Yeah. There's a lot of angst.
Yeah. And I just didn't carry any of it.
Yeah. And I think you're right. And it's also you feel like there's a lot of competition. And as soon as you let that go, and you become a team player,
right? And people, I think there are so many different.
You just concentrate on. You can only do your bit in the show as best as you can with the other person doing their bit in the show, and as long as you give them room.
It's a communication. It's a language
to be the best they can be.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You're both working together. I didn't have any sort of sense that I was God going to do or be anything. I just thought that I swear to you, I had finally found something at the age of 19 that I'd been searching for a very long time and just didn't know what it was. Sports had been a great outlet. I wasn't going to be that for the rest of my life. And I was really floundering in school, and then found that. And, we've had so many guests on that talk about luck and being fortunate and being at the right place at the right time. And I'm the same way. When I started, I got an opportunity to give myself more confidence by being at a place where I thought I was challenging myself. And I was with other actors of, my class in a way. And then I had a guy, Bill Beckvar, who just gave me role after role after role that were fantastic. Yeah. But he never said, we're making you ready for the world. He always said, we're making you ready for drama school.
Oh, for the next step.
For the next step.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want a life as an actor, your life as an actor, at least from his perspective, was going to be in the theater. And so I went off.
And that's a great starting off place. I think
God.
the training you get that prepares you to be a stage actor is, frankly, I think the best foundational training you can get. You can learn to do the other stuff in front of a camera, but that ensemble work with other actors, rehearsing, having that rehearsal time, there's nothing like that.
Absolutely.
There really is nothing like that.
And so
and
after
all the best movies that are produced today, you always find out that they had 3 weeks rehearsal.
totally.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
They have the luxury of that.
I'm about to graduate, and now it's time to go audition for drama schools. And there was a thing called the URTAS, University Residential Theater Association. They would do auditions for graduate schools as well as like the Straw Hats, which were the festivals around the country. But I was looking to go to graduate school, and so I made the finals. And in the finals, you could go to New York, Chicago, or LA. And I went to Chicago, and I mean, Juilliard was there. These are not part of the URTAS. Juilliard was there. Yale was there. A bunch of different programs. ACT was there. And I've already made the finals, so I know that, and that's happening. And I thought I was pretty hot shit, but and then I auditioned for Juilliard, and boy,
Was it terrible?
what I didn't know just smacked me right in my face. And then I auditioned
What was that awakening then? Did you see other people audition in front of you, and you're like, oh my God, they're leagues ahead of me?
Yeah, I did.
You know, just in their presence, in their hold, in their command of the verse, of the.
What it felt
of
like to me
themselves.
was, for instance, one of the exercises was, I want you to count to 100 and imagine that you have a rope and you're pulling me to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that wasn't in my wheelhouse. 1, 2, 3. I was way overdoing
Right.
it. I was, what I had done yeah, exactly. What I'd done was I'd lost the thing that I think I instinctively had in the beginning, which was
playfulness.
that and just telling the truth.
Yeah, the playfulness.
Yeah.
Of it all.
But then I do the URTAS. It goes very well. Several schools want me to come to the program.
So when did you do the drag act?
Well, that's coming.
Oh, that's tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. I've got a
All
show.
this college stuff. When did RuPaul go, you, my dear?
Come walk with me. This one guy who was the University of Missouri, Kansas City, ran the program there. Everybody else was like, yeah, come to Illinois or come to Indiana and we'll pay for your school, give you a stipend, and you can buy a car, and all that stuff sounded great. And then Dale Rose, I went in for my meeting with him, and he didn't want to talk to me. He was like, let's make your piece better.
All right.
And we just worked on my pieces that I auditioned.
So you had a modern and a Shakespeare? How does
I
it
did.
go?
Well, no, you couldn't do Shakespeare. So I did Cyril Turner's The Revenger's Tragedy.
Okay.
And I did...
They wouldn't let you do a Shakespeare.
They wouldn't let you.
They're right.
Yeah, it was too easy,
Right.
apparently.
Yeah.
And I did Cyril Turner's The Revenger's Tragedy. I did The Bastard monologue. And then I did a Michael Weller play. I forget the name of it right now. That was my contemporary. And we just worked on those, and I just went, I didn't know what their deal was at that school. I just went like, yep, I'm going with you.
Right.
And it was the best decision I ever made in terms of being classically trained by someone who I felt had a similar aesthetic that I did.
This is Kansas, right?
Kansas City, yeah.
What a great recruitment tool, too,
And how
by
long
the
is
way.
that?
Like, let's work on your piece.
Yeah.
How long is that course there? That's
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
It's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah. We had...
So you're going in there at 19, 20?
Well, it took me 5 years to get out of college. So, listen, I had to drop math every semester because I was failing it.
Not your thing.
Who was the guy? Dickie Digby Day.
Yes, you finally did your math homework.
They're going to need to see you work hard. And I was like, well, I'm sorry.
Dickie's been ringing in your ear.
Right.
You're going to be needing for a while.
But, you know, we had two really tough years, the first 2 years.
Do people drop out?
No, they usually, you get dropped.
They drop you.
They do. So in the first year, and I'm actually really proud of this. In the first year, they do awards, and it's a financial award at the end of the year. They rank you in your class. And I got ranked first in the class and was given something like $8,500. Now in Kansas City,
That's quite a lot of
in
money.
1990, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I went into my second year, you know, feeling flush. But like, you know, the 8th ranked student got like $1,200 and was taking loans out. And to me, if we were meant to be a company, this didn't make any sense. And I really felt badly about this. And when our second year came to give the awards for the third year, I got offered the same thing. And I said, I don't want it. I don't think it's fair. I think everybody should get the same amount of money. If we're a company, we're a company.
Look at you.
I know.
good
And
for
then
you.
they continued to do that from that
Trip
point forward.
Tucker has always been there.
He's a communist.
He's a communist.
No, but it wasn't fair. It was like, you know what I don't understand about this is you're trying to create an environment that's a company, and yet you've got control of that.
Yeah.
So
So they changed it.
they did.
Is it now called
It's now called the Connor
Connor
Trinneer
Trinneer Fairness Award?
Yeah, exactly.
The Connor Trinneer non-award.
The Connor Trinneer. Well, you know, get that much this year.
Award.
All right, so we finished college, and then what? I mean, what happens next?
Then I moved to New York, and the other story, I get there and I'm terrified. I'm really terrified. We're going to look for an apartment, and we go to a realtor's office in Park Slope. I had no idea about Park Slope. Park Slope's nice.
Very nice.
We go look at a place. It's not right. It's a box. Come back to the office, and we're standing there just sort of chatting with people as this like 6'4", turns out to be Russian young man, busts into the door with his like 80-year-old grandmother, toothless, and they're fighting over a crutch. And he knocks her down, takes the crutch, goes next door to a little bodega, which has those like 12-foot high ceilings that they all have, you know, back to the old school ones, and bashes them in. And at this point, I'm just
In Park Slope.
in Park Slope, bashes it in. From across the street, some Puerto Rican kid dives into him. They start fighting in the glass, blood everywhere. And I'm frozen.
Are you like living upstairs, as it were?
I'm in the office. This is in the afternoon. I'm
you're
watching
with
this happen.
You're with the realtor.
We're just we're in the realtor's office, and that happens. They fight.
So you're not even moved in yet.
No, I don't even have an apartment. And out of the bodega comes this other Puerto Rican kid with a shotgun, and he trains it on this Russian kid who starts to inch his way toward the office. And I'm just at one point I was just like, dive, and everybody in the office dives under desks. Oh my God. And we're just waiting for it. And sure enough, boom, the gun goes off.
Gun goes off.
And I'm like,
Oh my God.
God, he killed him.
I don't know why I'm laughing.
And I look out.
I mean, it
And he
seems
says to the
unreal.
realtor, I'll give you $300.
yeah, exactly. I don't think it's worth what you think it's worth.
Take it.
I'll take it, but it's $250. That's my last offer.
He didn't shoot him. He shot it in the air. And then all of a sudden, out of the middle of nowhere, come like 80 NYPD cops and the whole things. And I thought to myself, I just don't want to live in Park Slope, I don't think, at all. Or New York at all. But I got used to it. I lived in Park Slope. Then I moved to the Upper West Side. Then I went to LA and then came back for...
How did you get to the Upper West Side? Was that a girl?
Well, that was a breakup and then just renting a room. So yeah. And then decided that I
Where on
wasn't
the Upper
happy.
West Side?
98th and Broadway.
Posh.
And then I decide I'm done with New York. I want to give
How long
LA
have you
a
been
try.
there then? How long have you?
Just 2 years.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's like a decade, really, isn't it? It's in a person's life.
And if that city's not your cup of tea, absolutely.
It's hardcore.
Yeah.
It's my cup of tea, and I was there for 5 years, and that was enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a long time. It'll grind
needed
you,
a
man.
break.
Yeah, unless you
From
have
New
that
York?
buffer
I need
money.
a break.
It's. I love New York. I've never lived there longer than 3 weeks, but my God, it's tussle and bustle.
Listen, the thing about New York is, living in Los Angeles, at least when I moved there, there came a point where you didn't pay rent that month because you got waiting for a check. Typically your landlord would be like, oh, okay.
Not in New York.
Oh, geez. In New York, you were out.
Yeah, you're out.
And I remember you'd have $20 in your pocket and you left your front door and that $20 like a bird would fly out of your pocket and it just didn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
London's the same. I had a couple of Australian lads live with me. He goes, Jesus, Dom, waking up in this town costs you 50 quid.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Just waking up, mate.
Right. Daily rent.
So you come to LA was a definite move then. That was like, okay, it's time to go to the coast and let's.
Yeah, I'd done enough commercials to have a pretty good war chest.
Did you end up getting an episode of Law and Order?
No, never did one.
Any soaps?
I did do a soap.
You did do some soap, didn't you?
I did
The
do
magic-
a soap. I
That's right.
Yeah.
You got the magic
wait a
act
minute.
story.
You said you could be a magician.
Exactly.
That's the best one ever.
That's a great
Play
story.
guitar, ride a horse, rollerblade. Oh, but no, I can do magic.
Yeah. Okay.
I can do it.
Tell
So-
the
In
story.
front of a camera.
So near the end of my near
That
the
beats
end
drag, I
of
tell you.
near the end of my time there, I get an audition for a soap opera. It says it's a recurring character, and none of that matters to me. But I'm like, yeah, okay, great. So I go in. It's like I'm there at 5:30, like on 14th Street, 6th Avenue, and I do my audition. It takes me like an hour to get home. I don't have a phone. I've got a pager, and I do the audition. And in the audition, they're like, "Could you do magic?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
sure." Yeah, I know how to do magic. And they were like, okay, great. Do the audition. And then my pager's blowing up and I get back to my place in Brooklyn and my agent calls and she goes, you got it. And my first thing was, I can't do magic. Oh, shit. Oh, no. And she goes, God damn it. Here's the thing. Your call time is 6:30 tomorrow morning.
Oh, it was a straight over.
Oh, it was tomorrow morning. I was replacing an actor who'd gotten a job.
I thought he said who couldn't do magic.
Who couldn't do magic.
Turns out.
Turns out, who can? And so she says, all right, here's the deal. You're going to meet a friend of mine. He's a magician. You're going to go to Katz's Deli.
Great deli.
Yeah, downtown. And he's going to teach you a few things. I mean, Jesus, we were there for hours and I couldn't get it. I mean, we had poster putty attached to different parts of my body to
geez.
sort of hide a card. And by the time we leave and then by the time we're done, it's late. And all I've been able to do is sort of show the quarter, hide the quarter, but I can't even do a quarter. So we're doing $50. And I get to work.
Quarter's too small.
Two quarters,
Just too fiddly.
dropping
all
it.
over.
And I was like, nuts.
Gone. Magic.
Exactly. Wonders that boggle the mind.
The eighth dimension.
Yeah. So I get to work that morning and I'm petrified.
You must have been out of literally
Oh, and tired.
Tired.
out of your mind.
I have lines and I get to set.
What were you going to say to them?
Yeah, I've heard you tell
I
the
had-
story a number of times.
What were
It's
you
the
going to
first
say
time
to
I
them?
realized you were up all night
Oh, yeah.
trying to hack it
I
together.
had nothing to say. I had no defense of myself. And now soap operas, you have to remember, they're doing an episode at
move
least a day.
fast.
Yeah.
They're doing like 80 pages.
yeah.
They don't have time for this kind
Maybe
of
they
like.
won't notice the magic.
Right. And like you're not going to get one of these of like, can I get one more?
No.
No.
No shit.
So I get in there and I'm literally like, Christ.
Chris Charlton Fish.
I look like I've got like rheumatoid. Exactly. I'm like,
Must have been like Captain Hook.
and God bless the woman who she was a lifer on
saved
soaps.
the child.
She might still be on them. And she walks in and she looks at me and we do the rehearsal and she's like, you can't do magic, can you? And I was like, no, ma'am, I cannot. I am sorry. And I thought I'd gotten myself in a real
I thought
pickle.
you said, "Can I play guitar?"
And
This was a horse riding scene.
God bless her. She was like, I got you. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to shoot this master. This is going to be eggy, which means it's not going to count. And then what we're going to do, so you'll establish him at least making one or two moves, maybe even a close-up. Then we're going to cut to chest high.
And my reaction.
So we can't see what I'm screwing up. And we go through that scene and I mean,
And the-
bless her.
Quarter comes out.
I mean, we went to a
Yeah.
close-up and I did a couple. I was like,
yeah.
I got it. And off we went, and it worked out. And as I recall, they never asked me to do magic again.
Hilarious.
In the month I was there.
Were you a magician on the show, or was it just
Zeus Zelenko
Zeus?
was the lackey for Todd, the bad guy, and
He
apparently
turned out to be a non-practicing
Great
magician.
name.
non-practicing little. Yes, and I had
Dicky Digby Day. This is Zeus. I think there's a play there.
Oh my God.
I had the great fortune of having one of those historical opportunities to die while falling down the elevator shaft.
In the show. In the
Whoa,
show. Brilliant.
You actually died
I didn't do
falling
it.
down an elevator?
They just said, "What happened to Zeus?" Well, he fell down the elevator.
He was
shaft.
doing a
Like
magic
happens.
trick and he lost it.
He wasn't paying attention.
Practicing magic?
Show the quarter.
Ace of spades!
Hide the quarter.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris.
Yes. So that was my first experience being in front of the camera with lines.
No shit.
Wow.
What was
Yeah.
it? Which soap was it?
It was either.
The
I
Magicians.
think it was One Life. I think it was One Life to Live because it was One Life to Live and All My Children that shot in New York.
Right.
I think it was One Life to Live, and then I worked for a month. They killed me off, and
The
then I was like,
magician
I'm
got
out of
killed.
here.
So,
Oh, you liked it, so you wanted to go get TV work.
No, that
Or
was
you were
the
just so
one
embarrassed.
time I was humiliated, really humiliated in front of the camera, where I didn't do what I wanted to do.
Oh,
But I made money, and I
so
was
humiliated that you fled town.
No. I had thought, you know what? I'm going to go for pilot season to LA.
this used to be a thing.
Yeah, it used to be.
You
in
know,
and I was
March.
going to come back. I had assured the person I shared
Right
an
now is
apartment
pilot season.
with. Right, yeah, it doesn't even really
Apparently
exist
it
anymore.
doesn't exist anymore.
No.
It's a year-round thing. But at the time, you could come out to LA for 3 months,
Yeah.
rent a furnished apartment
Right.
at one of these places, and
Audition
then
for all the shows.
go back to where you are. And so that was my plan.
What year was this then? This would have been 90 what?
So I was in New York 95 to 97. So this was January of 1998.
Right.
And I knew in the back of my mind that I was leaving New York. It just wasn't for me. I'm a small town West Coast kid, and
Yeah, it's a big
it just
city.
wasn't a place for me. It still isn't a place unless I was. Well, that's not true. I did go back doing a play at Lincoln Center. Oddly, I moved to LA. My thought was I'm going to LA because I'd realized that anybody I'd understudied Barry Child on Broadway for like 9 months. And I realized that anybody on Broadway in these sort of like ingenue roles, you had to have credits. You had to have film and TV credits. And I
Yeah.
had nothing. So I wanted to get some.
Right.
But it was all really in an effort to come back and hopefully, be noticed for that kind of thing.
Right.
But I get to LA. I mean, I'm coming down the Siskiyous and I see the bright lights of Los Angeles early evening. And I was like,
It's my town.
it's my town.
Yeah.
But I got here and 6 months later, I was back in New York for a year doing a play.
Isn't that something? And you
Yeah.
got cast out of LA.
Out of LA.
No kidding. Was that through a New York agent or?
No, it was my LA agent. My LA
It's
agent.
so rare for an LA agent to put you up for a play in New York. For.
Well, my agent Greg has always had his ear tuned to what's going on in New York, and that's always been a part of his thing.
Same. So it was
Same
great.
agent.
Same agent my whole career.
Same agent.
God
Yeah,
bless.
I'm a unicorn.
Yeah, good for you.
And but that's okay. So going back to New York, if somebody's paying for your apartment, I was on 89th in Amsterdam, Upper West Side. You know, I'm making pretty darn good money.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, New York becomes like adult Disneyland. You know, do whatever the hell you want because there's no real worry about you paying your rent.
Right.
You could be broke for 3 days, but I could eat food at the
All right.
theater.
Theater. Yeah.
You know, I was just the life of Riley.
Get up at 3.
Yeah, exactly. I got to be there at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
But even while I was there, though, I knew that I wasn't coming back, and I came back to LA, and in short order, tested for Will and Grace, did
You
a
got
pilot.
super close on
Oh,
that.
I got
didn't you?
super close on that.
The writers wanted you to play Will.
They did,
wow.
and they said to me, and I had
between him and
I not
Neil
only
McCormick.
had auditions. Several. I had meetings with them. We would be working on
You workshopped and everything.
Workshopped and
Wow.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then here's twist of fate is that I go in for my
Wow.
test, and I think we were the first group to test for Will and Grace. I walk into the test, and I walk into and I'm feeling great about myself. I've worked on this so much. I know this like the back of my hand. This I can take any direction. I walk into the room, and there's a woman there who had been the supervising producer on One Life to Live.
On the magic
On the
failed
magic show.
act. Oh.
And I was and I just had this moment of like it felt like somebody pinched me and I was like, ow. Anyway, did the audition. I didn't even get to my car when I got the page to call my agent and
It's not in
found
the
a
cards.
payphone, and he was like, they loved you. You don't have enough experience to carry a show, a network show. And I was
Apparently,
like,
you don't know magic.
That's right.
Had he and McCormick? Did he had what?
He, as far as I know, he wasn't even a part of that first batch of auditions.
He wasn't.
No.
So they were early daying it.
They were committed to this thing, and they knew it was going to be a hit.
All right.
But then, I did a pilot.
Jim Burris was going to direct that. He was part of it. Was he part of that whole? He directed the pilot.
I think you're right.
I am right.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I just wondered how
Cheers, James Burrows.
Yeah.
James Burris. Yeah,
His
was
hand has
the
been
pilot.
on
Yeah.
yeah.
many different shows as the pilot director. So I don't get that one. I'm sort of devastated, and I feel like it's unfair. Like, I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, you didn't know magic.
I had no magic, but give
Hey,
me a break.
not knowing magic always bites you in the ass.
Apparently, it'll come back full circle to you. But then I get a pilot.
Did you tell him you were gay?
The funny thing is they did not want him to.
No, I know. I'm
in that one,
I'm
but-
being
but-
facetious.
I know, but that was really one of the things. You walked in, you were like, "Oh, he's gay," and so you sort of paint this broad swath, and they were like, "Nope,
Don't do
No.
that.
nope, just do you."
Just do you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And anytime anybody has ever said, "Just do your thing," I've always been in better shape.
Yeah.
And then I'm still doing. At the time, I'm the.
Oh, that's funny. When I'm just me, I'm in terrible shape. That was a joke about my body.
So but I still have this commercial career going, and at the time, I'm the Marlboro man for
right.
Japan Tobacco.
Really?
Yeah, I was that for like 4 years, and so I've got money. It's the great neutralizer for actors coming in. If you don't have to get a job and you can devote yourself to what you're doing, the freedom of that is really remarkable and lucky.
And he's responsible for at least probably 500,000 addicted cigarette smokers.
Yeah.
So,
An entire generation learned to smoke
I
because
tell you,
of you.
I've said this before. I mean, I got some answering to do at the gates of heaven.
Did you have a beard back then, or were you
No.
slick young
I
Connor?
I was slick young Connor. Yeah.
I like the bearded old Connor.
The old,
better.
the old,
Not old,
the old
seasoned,
the old
seasoned
hard scrabble one.
Yeah.
And then I get Enterprise.
It comes quick, huh? Yeah. So
It did. It was my first couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so like you just went in for an audition.
I did. I mean, I had.
Oh, that's right. You didn't know you got it. You didn't know you've told this story.
So I had back in the day when you had to go pick up your manila envelope from your agent's office, even if you had the audition the next day. And during
It'd have
pilot
to be.
season,
It was a schlep, man.
Oh,
You'd
yeah.
drive halfway across town to go get the script, the sides, the whatever they were, and you'd have it that night, and you'd go in the next day.
I lived in Silver Lake, and I had to go to Van Nuys and Ventura, where my agent was.
a long way.
Pick up the envelope. It's like 10 o'clock at night.
It's a long
Come
way.
back in. I've got 3 pilots that day.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I make a decision about what's more important. And Enterprise
Do
is
you believe we used to do this?
Oh yeah.
Times have changed.
But I will say, there's a muscle that you get, that you have,
Yeah.
that gets stronger and stronger, knowing when you have like, okay, let's see, it's 10 o'clock. I got to be there at 10 in the morning. I got a couple hours. Those couple hours, what you're doing in those couple hours, you get better and better and
It's
better
intense.
at.
Yeah, it is. You do. You hone it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get real good at whatever. If you're having supper that night, you're cooking or whatever, you're having half a glass of wine, you're always running those lines. It's constant. I quite enjoy it.
I do too.
Gary Oldman's always said it best. Someone asked him about how he prepares for a role. He goes, "Well, it's usually on the bed."
Yeah.
Just sitting there on the bed and just imagining it all,
Letting it go, letting it happen. Yeah.
And yeah.
So I had these 3 auditions, and it was a lot. It was probably 25 pages. And so I put them in order. Enterprise was last. I worked on the first 2 and kind of thought that I might have time throughout the day to spend a little time on Enterprise.
Were the other 2 what you would have fancied to be better gigs, as it were, at that time?
I don't know. I think that part of it is that they gave us so little information about our roles on
Right.
Enterprise. Good old Southern boy. ...
Right.
And these other 2 were meatier, I think.
You'd never auditioned for a Star Trek show? No.
And go in, do the first 2. They were, of course, never saw the light of
Did
day.
Greg not say to you, "It's a 7-year contract"? By the way,
No,
that wasn't
I
part
don't.
of the
I
conversation.
don't recall that.
No, right.
But I go in, I read with Ron Surma, and I'm terrible. I know when I punt it, and I punted that thing so badly. And he was like, "Okay, Connor, go back to your car. Come back in an hour."
Had you met him before?
Nope.
Nope.
No, I've never met him.
So he's
or
doing you a
Jeannie.
favor right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I go back to my 1968 Skylark that doesn't have air conditioning. The windows roll halfway down. It is hot as blazes. I'm just sweating like a whore in church. And I work on this for an hour. And I go back in. It's an hour better.
An hour better.
It's an hour better. And I walk out, and I remember now I had a cell phone that's like that big.
Yeah.
Pull out, and
The
I call my
Nextel.
I call my agent, and I'm like, "Listen, I can't. I wish I had this problem now. Listen, Greg, I can't do 3 pilots in a day. I just screwed up this last one. We got to work on that." And so
Stressing me out now.
yeah.
Jeez.
And I go home, and I somewhat forget about it, but not really, because I know I've really oftentimes you're auditioning for the casting director you've not met before. You want them to like you to bring you back in. So if they were a new office, you were like, you want to kind of nail it, whether or not you got the part, because who knows why you get a part or don't get a part.
Yeah, there's 1,000 reasons
Yeah.
why you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Right.
And one of them is the least one down the list is that you were sucked.
Exactly.
And in fact, yeah. But yeah, you want to do a good job for the
Yeah.
casting people so that they bring you back.
A couple days later, they call.
They call you.
They want to see me again.
So you only saw Ron the first time. It was
saw
just
Ron.
Ron.
I saw Ron twice.
Saw
in
Ron
the
twice
day-
that first day.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then they bring you back in. Who's in the room then?
It's Ron, Junie,
Right.
Mary Howard.
Junie Larry Johnson.
Junie Lowry.
For
The
our,
casting.
for our cousin in Ohio.
Thank God for Junie. And I think it was just them. There might have been another person.
Any producers? Nothing.
Well,
no?
Mary being
Mary
the
Howard,
UPM,
yeah, right,
you know,
right.
but nobody who could make a decision.
Right.
So I auditioned for them, and at this point now I've had a chance to look at it and work on it. And
What was the scene? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was the scene where Trip and the captain are in that shuttle pod the first time when he bumps into it.
Glancing around the
Right. And he bumps into it, and he was like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah.
Also, the decontamination scene.
Oh.
That was the big one.
So that's with the one with Jolene, right? Yeah.
Were
Was
you
that-
by yourself?
Was that in the part? That's in the pilot too,
Audition?
isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, all right. So Ron's reading both the captain and Jolene with you.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
It's very sexy. But then
you just stood there pretending you were rubbing jelly on imaginary people?
I was miming that I was, doing all this. I mean, you do what you can to make the moment work
Sweetheart,
for
you have no idea the shit we go through.
Oh, I do. It's really fun to try to
you've
figure
seen
out how
lots
to
of
trick
it.
actors
Yeah.
into
I mean,
doing
I can't tell you
ridiculous
how many
things on-
chairs I've hidden behind and gone.
She had to drive a bus the other day,
Yeah.
which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Speed 17.
Right, Eric?
She's like, "Do I look like I'm driving a
You
bus?"
can't not drive the bus, even as silly as it feels. You gotta drive
Yeah.
the
Gotta
bus.
drive the bus.
Yeah, I drove a couple vehicles recently.
In and out with fake guns or
Right.
whatever.
You
A
can't have
little
a
less
shootout.
bus, will you?
So how does it come back after the second go round with them?
So once I do the audition with Mary and a couple other people, then I go to another round, and there's more producers. Might be Brad. I don't know if Brandon might have been there. I don't think so, though.
You don't think? No, they're not.
Maybe.
They're right. They're really whittling at this point then.
Yeah, it gets
Yeah.
less and less people,
Yeah.
and then I get my studio audition. So typically, you do
Have
your
you
audition.
lined up with other actors that you know are there by now? Have you seen
No, at that
others?
point, I didn't know
No,
anyone
you
for
didn't
some
know
reason.
anyone, right?
But you go to studio, which is auditioning for, say, Paramount.
Yeah.
And then you go to network, which would have been
Which-
UPN.
yeah.
So I go to the studio audition, and it's me and, 5 other really good-looking dudes.
Yeah.
Me?
And I think to myself,
wasn't there.
Mark. I think to myself, okay, if they're not any good, I'm fine. So I'm last, and I take my chair and I put it right next to the door,
You listen in.
and I listen in, and I just start marking them off. Nope.
You can always tell.
You can always tell.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just hear it. You can feel it.
Yeah.
Nope. And then I go in, and
Isn't that you just
know.
hear it in the voice? They're not in a scene. They're just not in it. It's
it goes back to like what Gates said when we had her on the show, where there's a balance when she was talking about the Lecoq training and that particular director, and there's either truth or not truth.
Yeah.
And it's not magic,
It is magic.
or well, okay.
There's something magical about it. And God knows it sounds bleh. But when you're working with someone that actually doesn't really know how to do it, that it's not a natural ability, it's so evident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think also, you remember these going into like Saturday matinees, doing something for a children's theater, and it doesn't matter what you do. You're not going to get them.
No.
You're
right.
not going to get the audience.
Right.
That's partly up to you, but there are times when you can usually tell very early on with an audience if you've got them or not, I think. So I
Anyway, so you're listening in.
Yeah, listening in, then it's my turn.
And you're whittling them down.
And I nail it.
Yeah, they're all good looking, but they're not very good.
Yeah, I'm like, model.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what you're doing, but model.
Yeah.
And then I have my test, and it's me and another guy.
Well,
there
I
was a
heard
whole
that.
other story that I wasn't privy to at the time.
Did one of them did Surma like you or something and pack the room with terribles to make you stand out?
Oh no,
They don't do
they're doing
that.
their job.
They
I've
don't-
done
no,
that.
they
Well,
don't-
no.
they're not doing
Well,
that.
I'll tell you what happened was
There
that
was one other guy. I just was watching the CBS reunion chat that we did with Brannon 10, 12 years ago. And
Right.
apparently there was one other guy that UPN liked.
so
They wanted you. Brannon and Rick and the production wanted you UPN
Yes.
had their eye on probably one of the model guys.
Well, they had a
or someone
guy.
they had a contract with or something.
They had a guy on hold.
They had a guy on
They
hold.
would do that back then. I don't know if
Yeah.
they still do it. Where like they'd pay you a couple $100,000
Yes.
and hold you
Yeah.
to put you in pilots because they
Your
thought.
buddy
that-
Eddie got one of those.
Oh
Didn't
yeah, Eddie had one.
he had a
Definitely.
fucking sat around his ass playing fucking Tetra for 2 years.
Right.
I know, for real money.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
I'm
and
so jealous of those guys.
I was too. I know that Joe Flanagan had one of those as well. He wound up being on Stargate Atlantis, and he talks about coming into town and getting one of those holding deals.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Where's my holding deal?"
How?
But never.
I'm holding
You're
on.
right, exactly. I'll do it.
They could hold you for years.
A year.
A year.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it
the-
was a recognized thing. I knew several, and they, yeah, I was never one of those guys.
No, me neither. And
You could have been. I'm surprised you weren't, but yeah,
I wasn't. I think no, it was never offered to me.
no.
No.
They just don't want to let them go somewhere else in case
Somebody else might make
so
them
they
famous.
they pay them to sit on their ass until they kind of
Well,
hope
they-
they might find something for
for
you.
them.
Yeah,
I think what happens too is that you get to skip somewhat of that audition process, and they'll just test you if they're holding you.
yeah.
You're already right there between you and 3 other people.
That's when they were giving money away. They don't do it anymore.
No.
No, they don't do it anymore.
And in the meantime, of course, when you're being held back in the day, so you would do a pilot, and then we had quotes. So if you did a pilot, which meant that you signed the contract, then it seemed like an honor system where then your quote was just bumped up.
Yeah.
Say it was 32, it went to 35.
Yeah, yeah.
The next time you
The more
tested.
times you went to studio, the more times you got nearer to the,
Yeah.
your
big
number
payday.
got bigger, and it was a real number.
It was a real number, yeah.
Yeah, and the agent, the production couldn't argue with the agent. There's the number,
Exactly.
And
And that doesn't exist
those
anymore.
days are gone
They
too.
are gone.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now it's like, here's the offer.
Yeah,
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
15 guys behind you who would
Yeah.
love that job.
yeah. No shit.
So I do the test. Test goes fine. And I expect to hear something and I don't. And my manager tells me, "No, we don't. We're still waiting." And day after day goes by. And then I get the feedback that I didn't show enough awe.
that's right. I've heard this. He's told this story.
At the spaceship.
Aw.
Yeah. When we're all in the shuttle pod and before I bump into the ship, I'm supposed to be like,
But you're oogling the ship because
And I didn't show enough of
And
that.
that's not going to do, honestly.
"No, that's what they said." And I said, "Can I go back in? I'll awe
awe the
over
shit
room.
out of it."
I'll awe this.
I've got an art specialist. I'm going to go see him.
I'm full up on my awe."
Aw, coach.
And they said,
an awe,
"No,
coach."
they don't want to see you." I knew that the role hadn't been put out again in breakdowns, so that I didn't know what was going on. And so, say this is Monday. I think they have 5 business days.
Yeah, the week.
They
Yeah.
have the week, and on Friday, no news, nothing. We don't know. You're still waiting. And I was like, okay. Well, I drove down to Mexico, and then my manager finally calls Junie, and I don't think I'm telling anything out of school. She's like, "Ross, I can't tell you, but you're going to sleep well tonight." And I didn't sleep at all,
God bless.
and woke up the next morning with the call that I got it. And I didn't, and when I,
So that
I don't
contract
think,
had expired, officially
Oh, yeah.
speaking. Did you go re-sign or did they just...
I just kept my mouth shut. Yeah.
You worked not on contract?
No, there was nothing going on. I was just still hoping. I wanted to be seen again. I wanted to read again.
Yeah.
And then I'm told from my agent, this is, I think, the first time I've heard this, that, you're not hired to do a pilot. This is a show. So this is episode 1. And I was like, oh my God. And I call my brother, who was a massive original series fan, and he and his buddies would walk the perimeter of the playground during lunch talking about the previous day's episode. Really, really serious fans.
Your brother is a Star Trek
was a nerd. Was a nerd.
And you
Just got it.
booked in Star Trek?
Yeah, so he's the
That's
first
amazing.
person. He's the first person I call. At this time, he's got little girls, like 4 and 2, 5 and 2 years old.
Yeah.
And I call him up and I'm like, "Matt, you are never gonna believe, Ruby, stop touching your sister." that cereal is not for, that is your cereal. Do not touch her. No. And I said, I was like, hey man, listen, I got the new Star Trek series. And he was like, you come back. That's great. I got to go. And I was like,
Oh, that's devastating. Did he call you back? Did it sink in? Did he care? Was he upset? Was he happy?
he was happy. He was happy.
Yeah.
I think that he had, my memory of him still sort of lived in that walking the perimeter of the playground, and he'd moved far past that.
That was a long time
But he
ago.
was thrilled for me. Yeah. And so I got it.
God bless.
Yeah.
It's a big. I mean, do you remember the feeling? It's series regular, man. I mean, it's the big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And do you remember those initial feelings about, oh my God, what this means?
Well, my original impression was, I'm Scotty.
Were you number 3?
Right.
That was number 2.
You were number 2.
I didn't know what what that meant.
Yeah, it was 2 on the call sheet.
But
Wow.
I got, I was like, I'm Scotty. I'm the engineer. I'm going to have days off. It's gonna be great. And then, of course, because we weren't given the pilot until
was
we
me.
got,
Yeah, you're like,
It's you and Billings.
same pay, half the days.
I didn't get the script until we actually got the job, so I didn't know what the deal was. There was nobody said anything about kind of a triumvirate between the captain, Trip, and T'Pol, sort of like, Bones, Spock, and Kirk.
That was their formula, and still kind of is, isn't it? It's
a great formula.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great formula.
I opened that pilot script up and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
well,
1
you need to
minute.
put your hard hat on. You've got work to do.
Yeah, no shit.
And then I think from that point forward until maybe halfway through season 1, I was just convinced I was going to be fired all the time. Yeah, I really was.
Because you were breaking everything?
No, I was just, I kind of didn't believe the opportunity that had come for me.
Wow.
And I thought that they were just going to walk up one day and go, well, that didn't work out, Connor. Thank you for everything.
You fell down an
I didn't
elevator.
know that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't
I
know
was
that.
really,
Apprehensive.
you know what? I wouldn't say I would say this. It wasn't until I did Unexpected, that pregnancy episode,
Right.
which was like 3 or 4 episodes in.
Three or four, wasn't it?
Yeah. That when I really felt grounded and at home.
Right.
But it took a while.
Because I think for both of us, I mean, we'd done some stuff in front of a camera, but we both basically grew up on that show,
Absolutely.
filmically speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing like that experience. And to get to film something and literally 12 days later, see it on your TV screen.
Yeah.
And see it twice because they did a repeat. And I let myself,
Watch.
squeeze through, behind the sofa.
Do you remember your first day on set, what it was? Your first moment?
I don't remember my first moment. I do remember my first day. And the moment that I remember was, which I believed was going to be, and I was even told, I think, was going to be a kind of a catchphrase for the show, is when you walk up.
Keep your shirt on.
shirt on,
Keep your
Lieutenant.
shirt on, Lieutenant.
All right.
And that was the thing that I remember the most.
Never really took off.
Oh, not at all. We only said it like 2 or 3 times in the whole series.
Yeah.
So no, I that was all a bit of a blur at first, because you walk in and, I mean, what an operation. The sound stage that had the bridge, engineering, and did it have sick bay?
No, that was across the way. It had my armory. And
In the hallways.
And no, the hallways were over on 8 as well. We had the bridge, engineering, armory. Oh, decon chamber room was on 18.
But you walked into that building and you see that operation.
There's 85 people standing around. It's a massive.
It's all connected by chains and pieces of wood from the ceiling. And you walk in and you're like,
It's incredible.
it's an incredible feeling. And before it becomes home, it's pretty intimidating. And also to walk in to know that I was walking into this engineering room that was my office.
And his set was superfluous. I mean, it was the most lavish,
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah.
It really was.
next to the bridge.
Yeah.
It was, and then, so that there's all these things that happen to you as an actor that are almost, I don't think they're intentional, but they do or can get in your way. And your role is to not be afraid, calm down, and to do your job. And those aren't always easy, but they're your job.
Yeah, I always call it don't bottle out. Don't bottle.
Yeah.
It's an English expression. Don't choke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Find a way for this to work for you.
Yeah.
Breathe it in.
And trust.
I think different actors probably have different ways to do it, but you just got to go like,
yeah.
All right. You have to remember that you're there for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's something you brought into your first audition, right? Was kind of
Not my first audition.
I thought you said you were like, I'm just going to listen.
Ever.
When he got into
when I got into theaters.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good point. Yeah, I mean, I've always, so my notion of acting, I mean, there's different kinds of training, different teachers, different techniques, and for film acting, mine's very simple. It's the Jimmy Cagney, I think it's like a postcard that says, hit your mark, open your face, and tell the truth.
Put your hands on your hips.
Put your hands on your hips and be a hero. But, however you get there, the getting to that point is the point. And I've always believed that. And however you can get there is your business, but that's your job. Hit your mark, open your face, and tell the truth.
So one of the things about doing this show that we've talked about a lot is, you got the show as a job at first. You just talked about that. And then, we've talked a lot about how Star Trek Enterprise just got 4 seasons instead of 7.
Careful where you point that. Careful where you point that.
Does it work? Have we started again?
Is it shiny now?
One of the things that is interesting to me is that 20 years later, whether Enterprise was cut short for the right reasons or the wrong reasons or whatever,
they were all wrong.
They were all wrong. As a fan of the show, you're still doing it 20 years later. Both of you are still doing this 20 years later.
Yeah, I mean, when I got the job, and I'll call it the job, at the time I wasn't particularly a fan, and I had no idea about the influence that the fans would have in my life, the experiences that we would have in our lives going around the world. And you were really early on, you were going to the conventions. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd seen Trekkies. I knew there was this other,
there's a whole
if
world.
Nothing else. There was another financial appendage to this job.
An opportunity.
And I was a bit older than them. And I was like, I did 10 conventions that first year. I was on a plane every Friday night.
Yeah, wow. I think I did maybe not more than one. And the one that I did do, I made sure was close to my parents' house. I did it in Portland, Oregon.
That's right, you did, didn't you?
Yeah, because I wanted to make sure they were in the audience so that I had a kind, couple of eyes to look at. And
it was scary. I mean, I remember the first one was like, I thought you had to do an hour of stand-up, basically.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Right.
And I had about 15 minutes of,
Did you rehearse it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're kidding. Oh, I know. I was, I had 15 minutes of good bit.
Right.
Good story, getting the job. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then I remember that convention in Portland. I mean, I was walking in and 2 Klingons opened the curtain for me, and I was like, this is crazy. But everybody was so kind, and
that comes across real quick.
Really quick, and it comes across immediately. And over the course of time, having had the experience where people have walked up to me and said, hey, I'm an engineer. I identify with your character. I've had people walk up and say, I'm an engineer because of your character. Or, I'm an engineer because of Star Trek. And,
wow.
And not only those particular things, but I mean, I've had some really touching moments with people who have said that they were going through a tough time in their life.
I mean, some seriously tough times.
And
the death of a child or, you know,
We get that a lot with this
You
show.
know, the
a
worst
lot of people.
divorces you can imagine. And,
Yeah.
And every week, what kept them going or what they had
Was
to look
that
forward
hour.
to was that hour.
yeah.
And
I mean, people serving in the forces, who are being bombed and shot at,
Yeah.
and that 1 hour that they got in the tent watching our show on a big screen was the hour that they breathed out.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's humbling, and we've talked about this. I mean,
I'll tell you,
if you ever think your job's silly because you're putting on a voice or
Or a
doing
mask,
doing
or-
a limp, or wearing a mask, or
you don't know the effect it has on
you
people.
don't know. Well, as Gates said, I mean, all of the shows in their separate individual ways all have merit, incredible merit,
Yeah.
and they're all populated, frankly, with bloody good actors.
Yep. Yep.
And I honestly can't think of watching an episode of Star Trek. Mind you, I haven't seen the Denise Crosby one. That apparently sucks. Sorry, Denise. All right. Sorry, darling. But no, I honestly, I mean, I even now watching Picard and watching a bit of Prodigy now because we're going to have Bonnie Gordon on next week. Tell you one thing, they're bloody well written
Yeah.
for the most part. Good writing. And, the other thing to take on is what a variation on a theme that has just been going for 55 years now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it 60 years? We're coming up. It must be
Close.
2016 was 50.
The message of
we're
Star
coming up.
Trek is why people are so committed to it. That's why I'm committed to it.
Right.
It's,
The great thing is that it's the star of the show.
It's the
Is the ship.
Yeah.
And the show.
Oh, the ship.
Yeah.
The show
Yeah.
is the ship.
Yeah, it's the ship.
Yeah.
So you can plop
her
a
well.
character. Yeah, treat her well. And there's always been this talk about how we didn't have enough time to tell our story, which I believe is true. And that in some way our 4 years was, I don't know, a knock on our show. But think about the climate today.
Yeah.
And if you got 4 years of
22,
what are we
did 26, 24,
26.
22, something like that.
So let's say
That's
we
a
average
That's
20
a huge hit show.
23 episodes
Yeah.
a season.
That's a big show.
That is a success as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Sure. Did we want to go 7? Did we think we were going 7? Yeah,
Yeah.
but it didn't happen. But I do believe that our show stands on its own merit. And
I was watching some last night just to get ready to talk to you about it. I mean, as you know, I've watched the entire thing since we started doing this show.
for the first time,
For the first time. I
Right.
mean, honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were episodes I'd never seen.
Right.
I mean, scenes I was in that I had no remembrance of ever shooting. I mean, no kidding.
yeah.
Like, wow, was I really standing there at that board doing that, saying those?
I agreed to say those words that way.
I'm sure I got paid
Quite
that week.
amazing. Anyway, but
What's fun for me to watch you guys is all of these people that we have in as guests, and you have heard their stories, and you know them as people, and you're learning something more. You're learning what the rest of the world knows about them through getting to learn their performances now. As we have them on as guests, you're familiarizing yourself with their work, which is really fascinating for me to watch because your eyes light up and you're getting better at Star Trek trivia. Well, you're better at pushing a button.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very good.
Boom. What's the answer? Anybody?
But it's fun. It's like, for me, it's fun because I feel like I'm learning, I'm getting to know the people behind the performances. For you, you're getting to know the performances
behind the people, because that is it. We
very
dreamed
good
it
point.
for 20 years, like
Yeah.
seeing each other at conventions. And actors are very good at that, at short-cutting, short-handing, intimacy and friendship.
Yeah.
And we are, that's part of the trade.
It's part of the job.
But I bet you any money, a lot of, I'm sure there's a lot of actors at the conventions that have never seen our show. I don't, it's not like I care.
Oh no, I'm certain of it.
I'm certain of it. I mean, I'd really not seen Armand's performance as Quark, particularly. I might have caught a couple of snippets, but now I know it intimately.
Yeah.
And,
Well, that's a common theme amongst fans as well. When they watch shows like ours, like the Shuttlepod show, or when they go to conventions, and they realize that maybe their favorite character, the actor who plays their favorite character, doesn't know everything about Star Trek. And it's like, I try to, I guess as a fan myself, I understand that knee-jerk reaction. But someone working in the industry, I understand it. One of the things that I'm very, very proud of about working with you guys and, all of you, is watching beloved Star Trek characters change that for the fans. The fans, I think, deserve to love characters who grow the same love for the franchise that they have,
And
which is what you guys are doing, and it makes me so.
Well, thank you. I think we're we're doing a good job. I think that there's also something that I know you and I do over the course of time doing conventions. That there's, I don't know, 15, 20 questions that you're guaranteed to be asked that you already know the answer to. It's almost like a bit.
Yeah.
And we get the opportunity. I mean, there's not a person we've had on that I haven't walked away from not knowing something new about them.
Yeah,
and something about them that makes them tick.
and that, yes.
And
That's been
I
the magic
love that.
part of doing this show.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, John Billingsley, in our very first episode of the show, when we lined him up to start asking questions, he out of the gate, he was like, 3 hours twice and no.
Yeah.
Because he already knew the first three questions that he always get asked at every convention.
Exactly.
And turning that expectation on its head, where they come in and the conversation that you have with them is about them and how their career and their lives. It's really, it's fun. I love this.
Yeah. It's like,
and you guys are doing a really great job.
how'd you get here? How'd you get to the seat you're sitting in today?
Right.
And I really like that. And
I do too, and it's there's nothing more fun sitting around the pub with a bunch of actors,
Right?
frankly.
Yeah.
there's always one sour apple.
Just don't, you don't want to eat with them. Oh, we know who that sour apple is.
Right.
All right. Well,
We'll leave it to you.
Yeah.
thank you for bringing Trip alive, and then thank you also for bringing yourself alive. In the same
It's a pleasure.
for you.
Pleasure. Thank
Yeah,
you.
God bless, man.
Thank you.
Well done.
I was watching a really nice scene with you and Jolene last night when you find out you've got the child.
Oh, Elizabeth.
And it's some beautiful stuff, man.
I'll tell you, the scene where he has to go and tell to Paul that, the baby died. My son was less than 3 months in utero. And, you're not supposed to say anything for 3 months, before it sticks about that you're having a baby. And so I hadn't told anyone. And I walk in and tell her that news. And clearly it didn't take me much to get involved in that scene. But after they said cut, this is sort of unique for me, is I couldn't get a hold of myself. And so I wandered off to a corner of the sound stage, and Jolene just walked up, and
You were crying. You were upset.
I was crying. Yeah, I was still crying. And she walked up and she asked me, what's wrong? And I said, I'm not supposed to say anything, but we're pregnant. And
It still hits,
Yeah.
doesn't it? I know.
and she just hugged me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Those are the beautiful moments when you get to do this craft, when real life merges with, fictional life like that.
Yeah.
But it brings it all alive.
Makes it real. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It comes back. I mean, use your truth. That's all you got.
Yeah,
That's all you got.
it
And
is.
before I actually start crying, let's do something like
Say,
trivia.
let's move on to some Star Trek trivia.
Let's do some fan questions.
Fan
questions.
So we're doing this kind.
Yes, no, 3.
Yes, no, 3.
12. Okay.
Question number 1.
Question number 1. Nancy Congdon from Patreon asks, I know you like Mexican food. What is your favorite Mexican dish?
Oh, that's difficult. I would say chicken enchiladas with a verde sauce.
Ooh,
Oily.
That's green.
green. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Next question is from Haunted John from Patreon asks, Connor, if you could act in anything, what would it be and why?
It would be a play. And it would be probably Hamlet or Richard III or the Scottish play.
All right. In the roles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd actually make a good Scottish king, I think.
I think I've grown into it.
I think you so. You
I could do it right now.
yeah.
All right. Jane from Patreon asks, Hi, Connor. What has been your favorite live performance? Would you like to perform on stage again? Really enjoyed The Odd Couple, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
The Odd
thank you.
Couple was great fun. You know
that
what?
fun?
I've got to consider doing that actually as a full-blown
We should.
production.
Yeah, you guys
Oh,
should.
absolutely,
Yeah.
we should. How much fun.
My favorite thing, and I don't get to do it very much anymore, is to act on stage. That's where I think I'm at my best. And my favorite role and production, well, two favorite productions, but my favorite role was Septimus in Arcadia by Tom Stoppard.
All right.
Yeah, that was something else. To get that part, again, they didn't really want me.
That was at the Hunt.
The Huntington, yeah, in Boston.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
They didn't really want me, and they were going to come back and read me again, and I didn't know what they wanted to have me read. So I learned the whole play. I mean, I just locked myself in. I wanted this so badly that I learned the whole play. Not like off book, but
Right.
I
You
knew I
knew
made
it.
choices.
You could read,
I
right.
could, yeah, I was taking it off the page, as it were.
Whichever part you give
Anything
me,
you ask,
I'm there.
yeah,
Yeah.
do it. How about another scene? Yep.
Yeah.
And then my other favorite was actually the show I did. There's three. I also loved playing Robert Cecil in Equivocation.
I like that. I saw that.
That was
Harry Groener, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was the last play I did.
Right.
That's been a number of years ago. And then the show I did just prior to getting Enterprise, which was Brecht's Edward II, and I played Edward in that, and that was really satisfying.
Jonathan Hogan from Facebook asks, what is one life lesson from the stories of Enterprise that you are really grateful for?
I think the ethos that I take from it is being your best self in the face of adversity, and that your goal in that is to move forward, is to do better, is to be better, and that we're all fallible in that journey, but that doesn't change your intent.
Love that. Good answer.
And don't spend all the money.
And don't spend all the money.
Oh, jeez.
God damn it. Jim.
Made me sad.
This question is from Mike Torkelson from Facebook. What is the strangest skill that you've had to learn for a part/audition?
Well, I think being a magician on
Was
soap
it? I
opera
was-
was one. But I would say, the little bits of, we had to go to shaking school for the ship.
Yeah.
That
we
was
did,
that was random. That was
shaking. We all had to go to shaking school. We did
Yeah.
some good shaking last night I was watching.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the
We'd all be
strangest.
shaking in different directions. Frankly, it wouldn't have made a scrap of difference. But
I don't think so either. The hardest thing I ever
it
had to
made
do.
Rick happy.
It did. The hardest thing I ever had to do was to learn ancient Egyptian.
Oh, for Atlantis.
No, for the Stargate Origins
I'm sorry, Stargate is what I was
thing
trying
that
to
I
say.
did, and God, I hated that. I thought I could just get by with like
Gobbledygook.
gobbledygook,
All right.
But the guy who
weren't
was
having
the Egyptian linguist that they brought down from Santa Barbara was like, "Oh no, you actually have to say it correctly."
Oh, wow. Sounds tough.
The other thing is just lines, any lines.
Just lies.
That's funny. I'm familiar with this, by the way.
I quite like learning lines. I don't mind it.
I do too, but I don't really
skill.
care about getting them right.
Honestly, if we'd done 7 years, I'd probably have killed him.
He wouldn't have survived 7 years one way or the other.
Karen Kendrick from Patreon asks, can you fix things?
Yes, Karen, I can.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're handy.
Are you a handyman?
What I really like doing in the
handsy
last
are
several
you?
years is cooking.
Yeah, you cook, don't you?
yeah.
I enjoy it.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
Oh, anything that tastes good. My favorite thing to cook. I don't really have one. What I do is I take like Food and Wine or Bon Appetit. I get both those magazines, which is odd because they're basically the same magazine, and just pick something
follow
out.
the instructions and do it.
Follow the recipe.
Right.
Read the recipe completely
Right.
before you begin, and most likely
Yeah.
you're going to
It'll
have
work out.
some level of success.
Yeah.
I mean, I just made mushroom risotto from scratch, which sounds like not very difficult, but it is.
Oh, I bet it is. No, risotto is not an easy thing to
No.
make.
No, I mean also the
That rice, dead easy.
oh god, make it in a mush.
Yeah.
I also like making the French omelet, the real proper.
Right.
The figure eight, silent.
Right.
It's not easy, but that's fun.
All right. At Weather Katie on Twitter asks, what is one piece of literature you wish everyone would read?
Constitution.
That's actually a really good answer.
By the Brit.
I keep mine in my pocket.
I think that people, it would be helpful to have read some of the great Greeks, Socrates, Plato, the essence of what we understand is of a democracy and government. But it's coming off the heels of your great answer of the Constitution.
Yeah. Jennifer Preuss from Facebook asks, how is a new chair?
Oh,
How do you like it,
these
Mark?
chairs are from her. Yes.
Oh, are they?
Thank
I was
you.
trying to figure that out today. Because the name wasn't included in the boxing, and there was some communication on social media about an issue with getting them delivered. So I was trying to reverse engineer who.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes.
Thank you. I
Thank
love
you.
that.
I think there is a third one, is there?
There's
There
a
is.
third one from Nancy Congdon, which is currently.
Oh.
I am getting a new chair. People, the reason I'm sitting on the little boy's chair is because I broke 3 ribs, and I still need some sort of real support. But I'm nearly. I sat in that one earlier, and I could sit in that one next week. So
Yeah, and we will. Thanks to Jennifer
Yeah.
and to Nancy.
Thank you, guys.
We have 3 new chairs for them to sit in.
Love
Sure,
them,
it's
love
great.
them, love them.
Yeah, this is great. Bird of Prey 5 on Twitter wants you to explain how warp drive works. And Brian Young on Twitter says, no, ask them how toilets work because kids love poop questions. So
Poop questions, sir?
Request for a poop question.
Yeah.
how many times do
great.
you warp a day?
Yeah. Depends what kind of time I have.
that's funny. All right.
Yeah.
That was
All
perfect.
right.
Poop questions.
Thanks for the questions, guys. This week we are doing Connor Trinneer trivia, and it's Dominic versus producer Mark.
It's very exciting.
Oh, I got to wear my trivia hat.
Oh, yeah. Trivia hat.
Trivia hat.
This is from Minnesota. Are you allowed to wear a Michigan
This
hat?
is the University of Michigan hat. One from, this one's from Nancy Congdon.
Oh, thanks, Nancy. Okay, great. Question number
luck.
1. Who was Connor's first stuffed animal? A, Rufus the dog. B, Ernie the tiger. C, Bert the frog. Or D, Bubbles the chimp.
Oh, I got green.
Dominic.
No idea.
Did we
think-
talk about that?
It didn't come up.
It has come up at one point
I
talking
want
to
to go
some-
Ernie.
Well, it wasn't Bubbles the chimp because I think that was
that was Michael and,
Jackson's
yeah.
chimp.
What were the other options?
A. Rufus the dog. C. Bert the frog.
I'm gonna go with. Oh well, he already lost.
All right, go on.
So I'm gonna go with Rufus the
Rufus
dog.
the dog.
Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, there we go.
I still have it.
Really?
Do you?
What was it? Ernie?
That's why you get along with Porthos.
Ernie
so
the
well.
tiger was
Right.
the B.
When
Somebody
did Rufus the dog
I was
come
a
up?
big stuffed animal fan as a kid, and I don't remember exactly when I got Rufus. I hope I remember his name correctly. I think it was Rufus, but I still have him.
Question number 2. I'm keeping track here. Who was Connor's first hero? A. Reggie Jackson. B. Evel Knievel. C. Zephram Cochrane. Or D. Batman.
What does that mean?
Mark.
Reggie Jackson.
Oh,
Damn it! I know who it was.
well.
Your turn.
Well, yeah, I guess
Well, it's either evil. What was the last one?
Batman.
Side.
I think you're a bit young for evil. I'm going to go with Batman. Shut up! It's evil.
Evil Knievel. I watched him on Wide World of Sports, jumped the buses,
I
and
thought maybe
Caesar's.
you're a bit young for
And in fact, you know, he had his ill-fated rocket ship over the Snake River, and we were
You're too old for. You're too young.
I'm actually too young for
You're
Batman.
too young for Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah. God bless.
All right.
Evil.
You guys are doing great.
Question number 3. Who was Connor's first celebrity crush? A. Lindsay Wagner. B. Linda Carter. C. Princess Diana. Or D. Elizabeth Montgomery.
Princess Diana.
Ding ding.
No shit.
I was in love with her.
Really?
Oh,
Aw.
Where were you when, this is a horrible question. I apologize to everyone, but where were you when she died?
I don't remember, but I remember exactly where I was when she got married.
Oh, heavens.
Yeah.
You know we're born on the same day.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh.
July 1st, 61.
I was so in love with her.
Would
There
have
was
been
just
62
something
this
about
year.
her.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're born on exactly the same day.
It is William Shatner's birthday today.
Is it?
Happy
Oh,
birthday.
Happy birthday, Bill.
Happy
Happy birthday,
Bill.
William Shatner.
Hope to see you here
Yeah.
soon.
We hope to see you soon.
Yeah.
We're collecting the shekels as we speak.
This is true.
Question number 4. What is Connor's favorite band? A. The Band. B. The Beatles. C. The Rolling Stones. D. Mott the Hoople.
It's the band.
It is the band.
Nice.
Oddly, they're not who I would select on a deserted island because they don't have enough material.
They've only got the one
Bummer.
song.
Well, no, they've got several albums, but it's just. I mean, the Beatles are so prolific that. I'm sorry, the band. You are my favorite band, but that the Wait is my favorite song of all time.
Oh, wow.
Sing it.
I pulled into Nazareth. No,
That was good. Question number 5. What is Connor's favorite vacation destination? A. Tuscany. B. South of France. C. Spain. Or D. Riza.
South of France.
Ding, ding, ding.
yeah.
All right.
That's where all this
Ryza
Star Trek
sucked for me,
Ryza
and you.
Oh, we got a good
Well, that was question
it
number
was fun. You had fun.
We had a good time.
We did.
It was
I think
3-1.
we
Yeah,
won.
yeah, you.
3-1.
Yeah, you won.
I
Mark
won.
one.
And this week we're playing for our Patreon member Karen Kendrick. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
I think you won.
I think Karen won.
You get a car, Karen. Bless you, darling.
You
An
get a
honorary
car.
car.
Yeah. Should we do on a deserted island? Should we do
Yeah.
on
might as well.
On Connor's
I mean,
deserted island, but this week with distinction because it's with Dominic Keating. So I was thinking there might be some variations. You know, you like to play. You get the complete works of Shakespeare in the Bible, but you also get to choose your author. You're going to get to choose your cuisine. You're going to get to choose your dessert and your composer. So, given that you've got Shakespeare's works and the Bible, which author would you like to take?
That's always a hard one. These days, it would be Stephen King.
It would it?
Oh, interesting.
Are you reading King?
I have read King, but he came up, and I thought that's a really good answer.
I've never read a Stephen King novel.
Oh, no.
There's so many of them.
Oh my! There's so many. That's the thing. Is there's so
Yeah.
many of them. They're so entertaining. He's such a good writer.
You'll never get through them all.
Are they super scary?
No, not necessarily. Depending on the book. I mean,
Not necessarily all of them are super good either.
The Stand isn't particularly scary.
Right.
It's very long.
It is long, so you've got a lot of time on your hands.
Yeah.
right.
That's not a bad
So
choice.
Stephen King.
Right. What lovely pudding and dessert would you like to take?
It's still ice cream.
Ice
Is
cream.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
All ice cream.
All ice cream.
All of it.
All of it.
Does that include gelato or icy or whatever?
Frozen
the
yogurt.
Yeah.
Now, even
No,
though
this
the
is
band
ice-
is
it's
your
just-
favorite
it's ice-
band,
American.
you're not taking them to the island because their playbook isn't prolific enough. So, who are you taking as your composer slash?
The Beatles.
It's the Beatles.
Yeah.
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 The McCartney-Lennon duo.
Mm-hmm.
And your cuisine of choice from around the world.
Well, it would be Mexican.
Is it still?
Yeah, still Mexican. It was for a long time French, but Mexican cuisine is so varied,
Yeah.
especially when you get there.
Yeah.
And American Mexican food is sort of limited.
Even American Mexican food is so varied.
It is.
Southern California Mexican food,
That's true.
Tex-Mex, New
That's
Mexican
true.
Mexican cuisine, Arizona Mexican cuisine.
You know what they do with seafood and what they do with meats and poultry and
Right.
Mexican food.
Right. And if you had a luxury item, not the drugs,
No,
not the weed, not the weed.
those aren't a luxury; those are necessary.
You get all the rolling papers.
Yeah. I would.
I'm so disappointed in you, Connor.
I would take a machete.
You take a machete.
Jeez. Well, Naked and Afraid
Yeah.
taught me to take a machete.
Naked and Afraid taught me so much. No, I'm serious. If you are stuck,
My career didn't go that bad.
the most important thing is water.
Yes.
The second most important thing is fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third would be a good cutting instrument. And I think that, for instance, I could fashion a bowl out of wood and boil my water that way. I could also fashion, the bow and the stick to make fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I could give myself coverage. I could make a hut. I could, if I'm there going to be there my whole life, I could twine together a hammock.
Right. Right.
Well, machete's a good answer.
I've thought
Machete helps you with
You'd want to
water.
take a sharpening blade thing with it too. Yeah.
There's so many rocks on this
Yeah.
island.
That's where all the cutting stones come from.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sounds like a lovely island. I wish you well there.
Be well.
I'll be at home.
I'll come every 3 months with the
Yes.
psychedelics.
Perfect.
That'll be your luxury.
On the
item.
boat that I'm not allowed to get on.
Yeah. Well, it's been an absolute joy having you in the seat, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very
that
much
that was
for-
nice. That was fun. You guys are easy to chat with.
I feel like I actually learned a couple of things about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evil Knievel.
Evil Knievel, learned that. I thought you were going to go full Batman. I'm glad that you didn't.
Yeah, no, I wanted. In fact, apparently, when I was in very young, probably in first or second grade, I, in show and tell, told the class that my father was in fact Evil Knievel, and I think the teacher called my mom and said, "Did you know that Connor's telling the class that his father is Evil Knievel?"
We do some. You know when that kid's going to be an actor. When they just lie.
Oh my God! No, he's not. Yes, he is. Well, thank you. This has been a great deal of fun.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
You weren't a bad filler. Bye, everybody.
Please like,
subscribe, and join us on Patreon.